Welcome to MAGA Matters radio show. Author Greg Meakin tackles the issues of the day with lots of laughs along the way. Raw, unscripted, uncensored, uncanceled. MAGA Matters with Greg Meakin starts now.
You got me headed to the left, headed to the right, headed back and forth, but baby, it's alright. You got me going to the east, going to the west, going up and down, cause baby, you know best. All day, all night, running around, I'm never gonna stop because you never settle down. Got me shooting into space, flying at the sun. I'm never coming back, cause baby, you're the one.
It was really cool, either live during showtime or right afterwards. I heard, of course, from a lot from the United States, of course, Canada, Alberta, of course. Heard from England. I heard from Germany. Interesting. I heard from Madrid, Spain. That was great. That was in the chat. And also, my favorite one here from Thailand. I heard from a contact in Thailand. So people really like the show. Again, I'm really excited to be on. I hope Val Olson's able to pop up pretty soon in the room, because we'll definitely have a spirited chat today. So the best laid plans, everybody, the best laid plans of mice and men. Blah blah. I had a great plan for this show until about an hour before the show. Had a scrubbed mission. Unfortunately, my guest had to scrub the mission to come on the show. And little kind of sneak preview for when we can get her on next. Had a 24-year-old paramedic in Arizona City, Arizona. 24-year-old Generation Z, as they say, paramedic, who I happened to meet about a month or two ago. And I was bringing her on because she just graduated. Her name's Lauren Freeman. Lauren Freeman, shout out to you, Arizona City Fire District. But Lauren, as well as 22 other graduates, just got through paramedic school. She's an EMT, and she got through paramedic school, so she graduated. And I was just so impressed with her. Most people know that I manage and analyze the generations. I'm obsessed with it, really, and I'm sure even when Val comes on, we will be chatting about that today. But my biggest concern, as I've said in previous shows, is the younger generations. We're obsessed with talking about baby boomers. We hear a lot about Gen X. We hear so much about millennials. And again, I have opinions on each and kind of analysis on each generation. But I'm worried about the Gen Zs, and I'm really worried about the Alpha generation. Gen Zs are, just as a rule of thumb, 16 to 26. And so a small world, all of these paramedics were 25 or under, and I was just so impressed with that. Youngsters get a bad rap, starting with millennials and stuff, but alphas also, they get a bad rap to be kind of lazy, maybe working out of their mother's basement, whatever, work ethic. And I've just run into a lot of amazing young people, 16 to 26. My next book coming out is Why I Came to America and Can We Even Fix This Mess? And I'm going to be talking about this a lot. Gen Z and the Alpha generation. No one's been talking about the Alphas. The Alphas are now 15 years old, turning 16, and going to be in the workplace. So all the little baby Alphas out there, they are going to be a force to be reckoned with, if you will, because again, they're 15-year-olds starting to enter the workplace. So both these Gen Zs and Alphas, I really encourage people to start looking into it a little bit, and also, it sounds weird, but encouraging these generations a lot, especially young males. They don't have any leadership. They don't have any mentors. It's a crazy world out there, and there's such garbage communication, social media, and news stories and stuff. So as Jordan Peterson will say very often, one of his missions in life is mentoring to these younger generations. So Gen Z, and again, alphas, when I was first trained in the generation, they weren't even born yet. So here we go. These are the folks in the next decade or so are going to be our politicians. They're going to be our leaders. They're going to be our pastors. And basically, as happens, they're going to be running the world someday. I still think that Gen X is guys and gals generally 40s and 50s, and I still think right now that Gen X are basically running the world. They're basically running the world. They're running around, taking care of households. Trivia of the day: Barack Obama was our first Gen X president. Now we have a baby boomer president, Donald Trump, and who knows next? I'll leave that. I think there's a punchline there, but I'm not going to go there. Wow, I'll tell you what I saw. I saw Val pop up into the studio. Guitar man Brian Shattuck's on the boards today. Live radio. Don't you love live radio? Hey, Brian, remember Mike Tyson? You know, your plan works great till you get punched in the mouth, right?
That's about it.
No, I'm going to have a blast here. I'll catch up and try and dial her in there. Well, there's so much to talk about today. You know.
Cool.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks, man. Here we go. No matter what I talk about today, because no matter what, we like to have fun. I like to have fun on my shows. There's so much tragedy and garbage going on in the world out there right now. I don't even want to turn on the evening news. I don't even want to hear about what's going on the campuses. You know, once you hear and once you see a certain number of news stories, I just keep asking myself, okay, how do we fix it? So although we get into deep fun subjects, but practical subjects, as they say, and Val Olson says, for the home front, for boots on the ground. More people out there right now. I'll tell you what, you watch national media, you have no idea what's going on, boots on the ground. Everybody I'm talking to is talking gas prices. I joke, I just want my $1.75 Trump gas back. That's all I want. But we're talking gas prices and grocery prices. I've never done shopping in my entire career, being a 40-year car guy executive and just retired 4 years ago. I've never been shopping in my life, but I'm coming in and just bitching about the prices.
We're ready for a break when you are.
Oh, cool. Sounds good. Let's go to the break whenever you're ready, Brian, and rock and roll to the next segment.
Show.
And yes, back to the show. MAGA Matters on America Matters Media. Just a little housekeeping here. I don't know if you noticed the jersey on the back wall. This is actually a little bit of a joke, whatever. I joked with Eddie Floyd the first time I met him. You know, I'm 65 years old. I've been a 45-year-old career guy. I've done a lot of stuff, built an ice arena up in Seattle, published a number of books, blah, blah. But the only thing anyone ever asked me about is Wayne Gretzky, because I was blessed in 2004 to be on the ice with him in Scottsdale, Arizona, after I built my ice arena. So funny. I'm known for a lot of things, but most importantly, even people go to the page in my book. Hey, Wayne Gretzky. That's Wayne and Janet Gretzky. Tell me about that. So anyhow, once again, the best laid plans of mice and men. I will always say, and whether it's publicly radio, YouTube, or whatever, Wayne and Janet Gretzky are two of the nicest people I've really ever ran into. And during a very, very difficult time in my life, I got to meet them and spend time with them in Scottsdale, Arizona during a hockey camp down here. And very honestly, very personally, they kind of saved my life a little bit. Sometimes in life, you really get down, you have tough times, whether it's tough days or tough years. And it was a very, very difficult time for me in my life. And spending a week, not only with Wayne Gretzky, but the other NHL Hall of Famers, Phil Esposito, Danny Gare. There's some boys up in Alberta. Paul Coffey. Hello, Paul Coffey. Greatest skater in the history of the world is Paul Coffey. So it was a fabulous week. But again, so I wanted to get the elephant out of the room and just say, hey, anyone want to talk about the Gretzky jersey today? Let's forget the show. Let's forget the books, whatever. So God bless everybody out there. It has been just crazy times. I have potentially a guest dropping in addition to Val Olson, who will be ramping up here pretty quick. But after this morning, I had my guest had to reschedule. I had just an awesome guest, Lauren Freeman, who is a 24-year-old paramedic. I think I mentioned it. And so we had to scrub that mission. And we have someone who might be popping in today, Captain James McCormick. Captain James McCormick is a dear friend of mine, and he is national director of public affairs for the Vietnam Veterans of America. 100,000 guys and a much bigger reach than that. I don't know whether he's going to be able to drop in. He has been running crazy. He works out of Washington, D.C. And can you imagine? Because James not only has those nice folks at the new organization, Vietnam Vets of America, but he does a Friday evening radio show, Continue Mission. He is a former national commander of the Military Order of the Purple Heart, so he's in touch with literally hundreds of thousands of veterans, including people he's known over the years. And a guy like Eddie Floyd will really relate to this. You keep in touch with these folks, especially Band of Brothers guys from the 70s, 80s, and even earlier with some of the older guys. So guys like James McCormick and guys like Eddie Floyd and guys like Sammy Davis and the other heroes out there, they take phone calls. They take phone calls from veterans and young and old, active duty military and stuff, and because they're kind of mentors unto themselves. So long story there, but it was worth it with Captain McCormick. If he's able to drop in today, this would be fabulous. But in the meantime, what I want to do today, I really want to get to some content, if you will. Content, I say there's a lot of political talk out there, and I totally get that. I totally get it. But I really want to drill down on, and we won't get it to all of it today. But in my book, I published a book almost 2 years ago, Why I Came to America and What I Think Now. I'm a dual citizen, Canadian, American, U.S. born, thank God. But I spent the first half of my life in Canada and the second half in the United States. So publishing the book, it was really comparing the United States to Canada, because I really don't think either country knows anything about each other. We think we do. But I wanted to just kind of compare life and in every way, military, healthcare. I have a line in the book. What about that happy heat-free healthcare up in Canada? Military healthcare, education. There's such a huge issue with education right now. Once again, these moms, and don't even talk about what they went through for 2 years during the COVID shutdown. Goodness, Miss Val Olson will have a lot to chime in here. But healthcare issues. What do we do? How do we fix it? Taxes. Don't even get me started on taxes, as we say. Forget Canada. I mean, I was used to Canadian taxes up in 1970s and 80s. Quebec were right off the bat. They take half you got and then half you got on your paycheck and then go from there deeper. And I'm saying, boy, it's almost getting like that in the U.S. right now. So, but what do we do about it? What do we do about it? I visited Reno, Nevada. God, Reno's my new favorite place in the world, guys. Don't tell anyone, though. I visited Reno, Nevada a couple of weeks ago to do in studio. And it was a culture shock for me, because I don't do traveling like I used to when I was younger. And I don't like traveling. I just don't like flying with the new regulations and stuff. Give me the old days. But I went to Reno, and I was just blown away. I rent mandatory, rent a whole hotel room, get in town, settle down. And I'm quoted like $45 a night, $45 for hotel room tax. I say, excuse me? Anyhow, I'm saying, and she says, that's per night. So it was like 10 nights. It'd be $450. Culture shock for me. You guys from Reno, I know you're going to have a lot to say about this. I know you're going to have a lot to say about this. But so taxes, how do you fix it? The hint is you go libertarian. You go libertarian model. In some cases, combine Canadian things with American. There's good and bad on both sides, ladies and gentlemen. Good and bad on both sides. But there's some business models, shall I say, around the country that are really working. I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel. Stuff's really working. There's an education program down in the state of Arizona. It's a quote charter school or voucher school program, and it's working great. It's working great. The only people that don't like it are the bureaucrats, the ones that might lose their $100,000, $200,000 jobs. Hello. For elections. How do we fix it? I said on the show a couple of shows ago, I said, there are places in the United States, they still don't know what the final count was for the 2022 election. I mean, there's still votes being disputed. Hello? So one of the most popular things I ever wrote was Federal Express can deliver our elections. And that's a story that got a lot of buzz when I wrote it 4 years ago. But once again, in that article, and it's really good, we'll bring it up in more detail. But I basically said the only people that won't want this to happen or would block it are people that are ballot harvesting or illegal votes. Cheaters couldn't get away with it with Federal Express running it. And before anyone rolls their eyes, I do. Oh boy, I got to have it handy one of these days. Literally a checklist that we could implement for the next election. And it's workable, doable, logistics are set up. But I've said Federal Express needs to count our votes. We can still do elections the cute way. I still don't understand a lot about this electoral college thingy. But I do know the election starts in Dixville Notch in New Hampshire, and they have about 6 votes, and they write them down on a blackboard or something. But Federal Express needs to count these votes. Federal Express can count 100 million votes during a commercial break, and we can't figure this out. So, goodness, I see it.
Kindergarten.
But the truth is easy to sell. As soon as you get confident about yourself or the world, you have a great, big, awesome day. And then seriously, I always say, God keeps me humble. Seriously. We had, as most people know, I'm an old car guy, really old car guy. And I spent almost 40 years in the business, mostly up in Seattle. And honestly, anyone who's out there who's been anywhere near the car business or any kind of a, let's say, revenue generation business or commission business knows this. We used to have really big Saturdays in the car business. And not now, like in the old days where there'd be like traffic would be shut down and stuff, filing them into our dealership and cars for a penny. I've watched people sleep overnight in a car dealer shop lot waiting to buy the car for a penny. And I saw, we did it. It was a special deal, 4 or 5 cars on the lot, and a penny. And then they'd have to pay, this was so funny, they'd have to pay like tax and license on that. So I'd be taking them to the cashier, kid you not, taking them to the cashier and getting them changed from their $20 bill to buy their car. But as soon as you think you have a big Saturday, and big Saturday to any commission salesperson can be big, like meaning you make a lot of money. And I mean $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, whatever. I won't go into that into detail. But then Sunday morning, it's almost Sunday morning. There's a guy, it's usually a retired guy, who's parked out of your dealership. You open late on Saturday because y'all been partying because you had such a great weekend Saturday. He's always there about 2 hours before opening time. every time. And he'd be waiting and complaining about his deal from Saturday. Okay, so you spend the first 2 hours of Sunday. Anyhow, as soon as I think I'm too big for my skates, that's when I am, honestly, I mean, that's when I'm always humbled, or stay humble, stay balanced. Keep your highs as level as possible and your lows as level as possible. I've taken a lot of liberty here on the mic, knowing that Val's kind of mute, not mute, but mute like an 8-second. So I am going to actually, it's so funny telling a joke and then 8 seconds after the person laughs. It's like I'm from Toronto or something. I've been really behaved too. Okay, Leo Zaki would love this. I've been really behaved. I did not trash the Toronto Maple Leafs once, online or anywhere else. Well, they once again blew their playoff chances in their first round, one and done. So when they did that, when they choked again, they haven't won a cup since 1967, building back better since 1967 by the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I've got that out of the way, but I am actually too much to catch up on. We potentially have James McCormick coming in, Val. So wouldn't that be great? Maybe he's got like a 10-second delay. So take the mic, and I mean take the mic as long as you want, because I want a little break here. I don't usually do monologue radio. I can't believe how much fun this is for just something that will be, I think it'll be memorable as far as the clips, but I mean it. You go back, you take it back, and work with Brian there as far as the breaks. I'm just going to take a little time off. I'm going to pretend I'm a union guy, okay, and take some paid time off here for about a minute or two. You go ahead, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, whatever. You just go ahead and chat. Seriously, Val.
I am going to tell you about my favorite book. I mentioned it earlier, Why I Came to America and What I Think Now. This is a manual for those of you that are Canadian, that are desperately trying to escape Alberta or anywhere in Canada for that matter. This book is going to help you. And right now, there is a special on. You can get this in your hands today simply by going on Amazon, and you will find Greg's book. One of my favorite chapters in the book has to do with moms. And I connected with this because I'm not a soccer mom, as Greg mentions in the book, but I am a mom that cares passionately about what is going on in my children's school and wanting to make a difference. And it really touched me because I found here in the United States of America that there are more moms that are like me. They're wanting to come indoors, they're wanting to come inside and really fix their problems. And so Greg's book really does present solutions. And for moms or dads, you're going to find a lot of stuff that you're going to connect with. If you're wanting, like if you're like Leo Zaki, let's say, we watched his show yesterday. I really enjoyed it. He touched on solutions, and he touched on traditional types of improvements that we can make. He didn't say the 1950s handshake, but that's basically what he was saying, and going back to that simpler way of life. And he talked about, wanting children, those kinds of things. And this is a manual for that. So Leo, if you're watching right now, I encourage you to get a copy of Why I Came to America and What I Think Now. In fact, I think Greg did take a copy of his book to Reno when he was there last 2 weeks ago. So definitely get a copy of it, read it. You're going to connect with it, whether you're a Canadian or you're an American. But Greg's perspective is really unique, being somebody that is Canadian, but now obviously he's American. Lucky for Greg. It's not that easy for everybody. We do have an immigration problem going on in the United States of America. We have an illegal one and we have an illegal one. I'm trapped in the legal method. I refuse to go the other direction and immigrate to the United States illegally. So Greg even touches on solutions for immigration.
We are going to go to a break. Thanks to Brian Shaddix, the guitar man. Take a break.
Have audio. Two of my favorite things to talk about would be Sheriff Mark Lamb here in Arizona. Greg does mention Sheriff Lamb in his book. And Donald Trump. I like to talk about those two things. In fact, I wrote a really passionate letter to President Donald Trump. I would like to read that to you because it's a great letter. live on the air, but I'm not going to do that today. Maybe we'll hold that over for another week. It's really good. If you tune in next week, if I haven't lost my job as a background assistant, and I come back, make sure and hold me, call me to task about that letter because it is really good. It's full of passion. It's full of lots of intel, lots of things that a lot of people have overlooked when it comes to really digging into candidates that are running here in my home county of Pinell County. So you definitely want to stick around for that. That'll be next week or maybe the week after, depending on. But again, that is on record. I did write a very, very passionate letter to President Trump. I really like Greg's book. What he has to say about Sheriff Lamb and how they met and why he is such a passionate supporter of Sheriff Mark Lamb. It's not just here in Arizona, but it's across the United States. You can go and you can say the name Mark Lamb, and people have heard of him. They've connected with him. Could be from the Sheriff Network. A lot of people have enjoyed his show and just his work with law enforcement. But here in Arizona specifically, I want to tell you about what is working here because you can't go anywhere in this county where you're not on the receiving end of the good and wise decisions that he's made. And I really feel that when it comes to who should you vote for, should you vote for the person that you see the most on the TV? That's the lazy man's way of doing things. And when you have DC dollars backing you as a candidate and you just go with the assumption that, oh, this person has more money, they are endorsed by someone, they just get my free pass. That is brain drain kind of thinking. And we can't do that. We have to look into the who, what, where, when, and why. And so as an investigative journalist, and a radio announcer who wakes up in kindergarten every single day, like today, I've learned there are no shortcuts. You have to be on. You have to do the grunt work. You have to, you can't skip steps. So I've uncovered a fair bit to do with this local election that's going to be happening in July when we find out who the candidate is going to be. Is it going to be Sheriff Lamb or is it going to be Carrie Lake? As you know, she originally ran for governor. She was pretty sure she was, going to win, and she never claimed her victory. That shocked me. That surprised me that she and everyone else was convinced that she won, but yet she never went up to the podium and said, I won. And I wondered, well, who are you waiting on? And so to see a candidate jump from governor to senator, I've learned that those are two very, very different roles. And I've noticed that the media hasn't asked her big, important questions like, what are you going to do differently? Like, what was your plan as a governor and what's your plan as a senator? And there's no talk of that. So doing some digging into the backgrounds of both Sheriff Lamb and Carrie Lake, I appreciate Carrie Lake. She's beautiful. She's very, very good on camera. But reading off a teleprompter, I respect that because it's very hard to put a lot of emotion and you have to, think about your face. You have to think about all these things to read off a teleprompter to convince people, to convince those of you that are watching or listening as to the sincerity of what you're reading off of a screen. And her background is a media news anchor. And as someone who knows how difficult that is, because it's not as easy as it sounds to just read off a teleprompter, I did that as well. And it's hard work. Let me tell you guys, it is not as easy as it looks to be convincing. But that's not enough. That's not enough to go to DC with and represent on really, really big issues. And so when I look at Sheriff Lamb as a comparable in his background, this is someone who runs into danger. This is someone who deals with people in high society and low society and all the in between. And he knows how to handle these things. He has no fear. you know, how many times has he been shot at on record? I don't know. I don't know if he knows that. But, you know, it's an awful thing to think about. But these, when you're dealing with the DC swamp creatures, when you're dealing with the low morels and everything else, you want somebody that has the history and that has the future that Sheriff Lamb does. And so, you know, some may call him the underdog in this race. I don't. I call him the absolute best prepared candidate that's going to rock it. He is going to win it, because it all comes down to, you know, those of us at home who have a say and can exercise it. And from one side of Arizona to the other, good or bad, people love Sheriff Lamb for what he stands for, which is the true American dream. You know, he stands for God, family, freedom. And he's never wavered on those things. The other candidate, I could put news stories in front of you, has wavered on those things. He's been a lifelong conservative and has a record to go along with that. So those are really important things that, as you at home, do your own investigation, because you don't need a mainstream media commercial to convince you what's right or wrong. You do the digging and you start at the very beginning. And so that's what I wanted to share, Greg, this morning. And if you have any questions for me, I'm just going to zip my lips, turn up my phone, crank my phone up so I can hear you, and ask away.
Oh, no, very good. Very good. I really am glad you shared that. Okay. Believe it or not, there are a lot of people in the country that are talking about elections these days. Can you imagine that? In every state, it seems to be. The only thing I want to kind of add to your statement, because we've talked so much about Sheriff Lamb, you know, we've talked so much about him. The only thing I'll add to it is I put a post on Facebook today, and this is really important to me. If it doesn't sound passionate, it is I was raised with people saying, "Oh, all politicians are corrupt, they're dishonest, you know, they're bought and paid for," and I was raised with that. And I can hear that every single day that I turn on the television or the radio. And I posted on Facebook today, I disagree. If anyone tells me that that's the case, well, then they haven't looked at Sheriff Mark Lamb. I'll tell you what, if anyone thinks there's politicians out there that wouldn't be great, they haven't looked at Leo Zaki, 32 years old. He's going to be 35 years old if he became governor, and I still think he'll be the youngest governor. I don't Google or I don't do anyone else's homework for them, Val. But I think these are young Republicans. I brought it up on the chat the other day, but this is really what you're chatting about here, Val, is I believe there's an amazing wave of politicians coming up and within our midst right now. And I'm actually seeing some and analyzing some that are Generation Zs. I know one or two alpha kids that'll be maybe president someday. But if anyone, these are Republicans. What a Republican is, I've got 30 seconds here. I'm going to be cut short a little bit.
30 seconds.
Yep, I saw that. I'm going to just close it out here. Greg Meakin, gregmeakin.com. My YouTube channel is at Greg Meakin. Let's carry on this conversation another time with MAGA Matters on America Matters Media.